Welcome to Kaks Bar and Podcast, Canada's first podcast bar. What that means is you can come here for food, you can come here for drinks, you can also come here and record a podcast. Come on down, we're located in downtown Calgary, Alberta in the Beltline area. See you soon.
And we're rolling. I'm here today with Shawn. Shawn, what's your last name actually?
Shawn's good. Shawn Field.
Shawn Field, okay. Because, I'm also Shawn, so, people have to know.
I think we have different last names.
Yeah. Mine's the very uncommon one, Chan. Okay, little quick summary. So Shawn has a Instagram page called YYC Tours, but right now specifically, he's on because he's organized the Beerquest like scavenger hunt game.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Okay. So Shawn, right now, like, you want to just get right into it for the people playing the game, because we're like, this podcast is devoted to the game as well here. So there's a mystery beer, and right now since you're watching our show here, we're going to announce that mystery beer for the players who are partaking in the Beerquest game. And the people who have no idea what we're talking about, we'll explain it after, and if you actually want to join the game, you can go to Beerquest's Instagram page. All that will be in the show notes, and then you'll have the answer too, because you tuned into this episode, right?
That's right.
So, okay, Shawn, take it away. What's the mystery beer here?
So the bonus beer, number one, is going to be an ingredient-based beer using Saskatoon berries, which, oddly enough, I just learned are not truly a berry. Did you know that, Shawn?
No, I did not. No.
Yeah. They're a palm fruit, so they're closely related to an apple more than a berry, which is kind of weird. But anyway, so the bonus beer number one is an ingredient Saskatoon berry. I do know right off the top of my head. In fact, I think you've got some on tap here tonight. A sour made by a local brewery that uses Saskatoon.
We do. I'm getting confused here. Aren't we supposed to tell them which one it is?
If you want, you can say the name of the brewery. They're pretty much the only people I know that make it.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's Cold Garden. All right. It's Cold Garden's Saskatoon Berry Sour.
That's right. Yeah. They make one.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. All right. So, people playing the game, good luck in continuing on your scavenger hunt there. And now we're gonna dive into the man himself here. Shawn, let's get to know each other real time here. What inspired you to actually? Why don't you explain to people like how the game works, and then maybe they'll be enticed to play it, and then tell me why you made this.
Well, I guess first I just want to say thanks for having me on here. This is awesome. You guys have a lot of great content. I'm actually surprised you invited me on because I looked at your channel. You have so many celebrities, and I was like, why do they invite me? But regardless, I'm here. I'm excited to eat spicy chicken wings. Let's go.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Well, I wouldn't say we have celebrities, but eventually, because like the podcast is supposed to be done. The inspiration's like a local Joe Rogan, if you will. So like,
gotcha.
So Rogan would have people on from all walks of life. He'll have on comedians, he'll have on entrepreneurs, he'll have on activity people set up activities. Like, it doesn't matter. So my whole thing is of course you can come on this show, man. It's like, there's people in Calgary telling their stories or just podcasting. So
but wait, this isn't the one where I eat the spicy chicken wings?
You could. I'm not stopping you from,
I need to talk to my agent.
Okay, shoot, tell people about the game.
So so Beerquest, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's essentially a scavenger hunt where you've got to, track down 50 different styles of beer all around the city. Now, you have to go all around the city because I don't know any brewery that makes all 50 styles of the beer in the game. So you're sort of forced to travel around and go to some breweries. Hopefully you haven't been to before. That's one of the big hopes for the game, is that people get to places where they've never been before, So yeah, it's broken down into ales, lagers. You got to find some wheat beers in there. There's some special ingredients. There's historical beers. And while you play the game, so if you open up, say, the Czech Dark Lager, it's going to give you a little bit of history about that, so you can learn about that style of beer while you're trying to find it.
Where'd you get this love for beer? I take it you actually like you're a beer enthusiast. I take it as well.
I do like beer. Yeah, there's no denying that. So, Beerquest is put on by YYC Tours, which is a company that I run. We started primarily as brewery tours, right? Educational brewery tours, not like the party boss brewery tours, but actual education. In fact, I had probably the best compliment I've ever received, ever. A couple weeks ago from a group of guys from Edmonton. I think I had like 22 guys down for a bachelor party. And one of the guys took me aside. He goes, listen, he goes, I've been on the Heineken brewing experience in Amsterdam, and I've been to the Guinness brewery. And I learned more on this brewery tour than I learned at both of those combined. So I was like, all right, that sort of pumped my tires a little bit, right? So that's what where we started. But we also have Calgary's first ever wine tour. A lot of people don't know that Calgary has wineries. So we have that. We do distillery tours, and then, shuttles, golf shuttles, all that kind of stuff. Basically, you've got a group of people, you need to go somewhere. We do that too. In fact, just this last weekend, we worked with the Calgary Marathon and used our vans for medical drivers. So driving around the course, picking people up that couldn't quite finish the race. We do it all. But yeah, first and foremost, we're into the beer game for sure.
Okay. So the YYC tours, then you just rattled off so many cool things you guys do. Can you say those like what I'm trying to ask is there's no limit to what you do. It's just basically any form of like Calgary tourism.
Yeah, exactly. Calgary tourism. We're in talks right now with some people who are food influencers, that kind of stuff. So we're lining up some food tours. Just anything to get people out. We work a lot with Tourism Calgary. Anything to get people out to see the city. And for us, we're just into the beer. We know a pretty good amount about beer, and the breweries in town, where to go. So we try to go that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well then, what inspired you to make the Beerquest game?
I've always said with YYC Tours that it's strictly, it's about drinking beer, but it is about education. For me, I find a lot of where my love for beer came from was by learning about beer, not just going, I like this beer and I just sit at a bar and drink the beer all the time. I started getting interested in like the history of it and like just the sociology behind it and like the human nature. It speaks so much about how we developed as a culture. And when you start learning those stories, then to me, now the beer is super interesting. And I like sharing that with people because I want to create a buzz inside of people because sure, you can go buy a 6-pack of domestic lager at the grocery store, but did you know that there are dozens of breweries in town that make that exact same lager right here? And sure, maybe it's $1 or $2 more, but it's going to be a lot fresher. You're supporting the community for, first and foremost. So why wouldn't you want to drink that product, right? Because it's a lot better. It doesn't have all these additives and corn syrups and all this extra junk added into it just to make it taste good. It tastes good on original ingredients,
Okay. The I gotta admit, when I drink a lot of beer, and but when I was doing it growing up, it was just strictly because, well, I got drunk, right? Yeah. You're having a good time with your friends, and I can't say I truly knew how to enjoy beer. Right. I just knew I don't like this one, I don't like this one. Like kind of like what you were saying, but after like opening my own bar here and just progressing through like learning from all the breweries and like all the reps and everything like that. Like now I'm way more dialed in with my palate per se. Yeah. Did you have the same thing for wine then, or?
So yeah, we do. We have Calgary's only wine tour.
Yeah.
So there's.
Were you also passionate about wine as much as you got into beer?
I stepped away from beer for a couple of years and was like, okay, I'll get into the wine. Some of my friends who had restaurants here in Calgary, they were really into it. So I dabbled in it for a bit, but I went back to beer. It's my thing.
Yeah. Okay. So what is your what's your favorite beers?
Oh, that's That's really hard. It's weird because I get asked that question all the time.
Well, of course. I mean, that, you're...
It depends on a few things. Like if you are like, what's your favorite Belgian beer or what's your favorite amber? Then that's, because for me, a beer is a mood, right? When I go to a bar or a brewery, I'm taking 5 minutes to read through to see what's there. So for example, when I came down here to Kaks, I'd look through most of, you've got a great selection of local craft beers on there. But then you've got one, Snake Lake out of Sylvan Lake. I've had their beer. That chai latte stout they make is unreal. But it's not something that's readily available in Calgary. So I was like, yeah, I'd jump on that. So as far as what's my favorite beer, I guess just anything as long as it's well made, or it depends if I'm in a mood, right? If it's wintertime, then I'm going to be wanting a darker style beer. That's all.
I think I told you, we did a podcast with Don the beer. You said you worked for him?
Yeah, so I did some work with Don. He's a pretty smart dude, man. He's a nationally certified judge, and he has a little import company, but I helped him. His company, we worked together and put together the last Alberta beer fest in a box, which was a little 12-pack of beers from around the province. Actually, sorry, I believe that one was only 8. So, just work with some breweries and made sure that we covered all 4 corners of the province of Alberta to expose some of these breweries, expose people to some of these breweries that they're probably never going to get to. When you ever how many people are driving down to say whatever, like Medicine Hat or whatever, right? To have a beer. Not a lot of people travel through there, right? So,
well, most people don't even. They're not educated on beer, and deep down they probably have like that very, very simplistic approach of just like I'm just drinking this to get hammered or whatever,
right. There's so much more to it. It can be fun, right?
Yeah, the Don, I remember saying he's like, he literally kept track of his beers that he's like experienced, and it was some like insane number, like over 25,000.
Oh yeah, and he journals all of his beers too, right?
Yeah,
so I know that he's got a website where he just enters every beer he's ever had.
Yeah,
into this website.
Yeah, he was telling me about that. I kind of have to refresh my memory now on that pod. We did it back in December, I believe. Audience, I do gotta apologize. I'm manually clipping between Shawn and myself here, and I missed it a few times now where you're talking and I'm sitting, and then I'm talking and you're drinking. So, and yes, we've had beers. Okay, so but I'll get the hang of this here. I'll have my trusty little screen switcher Rooney thing here. Okay, I was asking Dawn about this too. I want to ask you because it's a paradox. If you love beer, like at the same time, it's not the healthiest thing to love, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I remember Don said he drinks every day, probably a beer at some point, but no, but he doesn't he won't like get drunk anymore. You know what I mean? So it's almost like for him, there's no point to getting a 12-pack or something because he's probably not going to go through it, But but what about you? Like, how often do you drink? And what's your relationship with that and health? Because like taking a look at Shawn here, you're like, you're young at heart and you look fine, So, but how do you feel?
I'm not 20 anymore, but it's funny. Even though in the beer game, I might have one. This is probably my first beer in about a week. I don't drink really that much. Just because I'm always out with tours and whatever on the weekend, I'll have like a little mouthful, just a sample, a taster of new beers when I'm at breweries and stuff like that. But to your health point, I'm that guy that if I have a beer, I'm moving up one or moving down one more hole on the belt buckle, right? So I've got to be careful because I just pack on pounds when I drink beer.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's beer also causes a lot of like well, is it beer or the alcohol that causes inflammation in the body?
It's probably alcohol.
Yeah, just alcohol.
I'm not a doctor. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, but it always fascinates me because, when I was growing up, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, because he, do you follow wrestling at all? Or?
Dude, don't get me started on wrestling. Beer, hockey, dogs, Wrestling. That's me.
Oh man,
Yeah.
man, dude, we have a lot in common. Then you know,
I call it wrestling.
yeah. Well, I like all of it. I love all combat sports. That's actually my true passion.
Okay.
Like, huge, like mixed martial arts fanatic, and like, yeah. I love wrestling too, the real stuff and the entertainment stuff. But I remember Stone Cold Steve Austin, man, like just him always crushing those Steve Weisers, he calls it, you know, like I don't know, he always made beer just so legendary for me.
But you watch those, and it's like half it's all over his face and on the mat, and all that kind of stuff. And it's foam. I mean, it looks pretty, but
yeah, he's
I
not.
don't think you're getting that much. Maybe a mouthful or two.
Yeah. But he's he would smash, like he would go and like you do that like maybe even a dozen times. So but like while you're celebrating the fans. So I mean he probably crushed 2 straight pints in 15 minutes there. Like
no problem. Back in the day.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, he doesn't have to worry about gaining weight because if you're working out all the time, drink beer.
Yeah. No, that's me. I work out like all the time just so I can enjoy anything. I do wonder sometimes like I like to feel like I'm in decent shape, but if I didn't drink and have this love for beer as well, like I'm like, would I be like Superman? Like am I just hindering myself slightly? But I don't know. For now, I'm gonna keep rolling with it. Shawn, what's your opinion right now on the younger generations? Because I think there is a like Dawn was actually telling me this. There is a dip in beer consumption for like I think the Gen Z, like people like born in like 2000s and stuff now, just because like culture's kind of changing.
I'll be honest, I couldn't speak to that personally because I don't see it. Most of the people I work with, most of my groups are all tourists from out of town, and usually they're not young kids. But from what I read and from what I understand, I think Don's pretty accurate that there's that shift towards the seltzers, there's that shift towards the non-alcoholic products, right?
Yeah. Well, do you think that like I'm asking you a lot of the same questions I asked Don because like you guys just are like the same kind of guy, I guess, when it comes to the love,
he's
beer.
certified, right? Like I hit the brakes on the certification because what was happening was I was starting to overanalyze my beers and wasn't enjoying it anymore, and I wasn't a fun guy to drink beer with.
Okay.
Because every little thing, like, you go through the BJCP program, you go through Cicerone program, you see bubbles on the inside of a glass, you're like, I'm not drinking it. Can I get a fresh glass? And all of a sudden now you're that guy, right? Or there's beers, your friends want to go to this brewery, the brewery doesn't make very good beers, and you just have to sit there and drink a mediocre beer. It takes the fun out of drinking beer. When you know what good beer is supposed to be, gone are the days of hanging out, crushing Pabst Blue Ribbons by the pool with your buddies.
Hey, I like Pabst though. Are you saying Pabst is not a good beer to you?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I love PBR, man. I don't know. Like, but when I say I like it, I'm like, what is it that I like about it? I don't know. Maybe it is just vibe because every time I've had it, my memories are always good times. Maybe it's just, because it's an affordable beer.
It's
and like,
affordable, so it's light, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But you're saying your palate is like, no, like this is not primo like art.
And it sucks because now I'm that beer snobby guy, and I don't want to be that beer snobby guy, right? I want to enjoy beer. I want to soak up as much as I can about the beer, but nobody wants to hang out with that guy that's like, oh, well, this is a little off here because it should have, nobody wants that. Right?
Yeah. I noticed, this might be a remark of a kind, but I noticed mostly it's like women that they don't really care about like beer that much, like as in they probably wouldn't enjoy it if you were there just commenting on, they're like, oh well, I'm in a mood to drink beer, so I'm like, it's my beer day kind of experience. And then if you're just sitting there being like, you actually are kind of like being a poser right now, like you don't even know what you're drinking or whatever, then they might be like, hey man,
that probably is like an old sort of, that's probably comes from a long time ago, because I've had, I had a bachelorette party last weekend, and those girls were loving their beers. In fact, I have bachelorettes all the time, and it's awesome to see, some of these girls are really drinking some really good beers and know a lot about beer.
Okay,
It's
maybe it's
awesome.
just the people I hang out with then. Yeah, because like almost most of the girls I know, like they're not that into
Well, they're
beer at all.
cocktails, right?
Yeah, they're into, well, you know, it's
Or
just
seltzers.
yeah,
Yeah, but that's just marketing
They're
and
into-
all that
they're-
kind of stuff too, right?
yeah.
There are lots of light beers, light, easy drinking beers that girls are into. You know?
Like Bud Light.
no,
No, what do you think of Bud Light?
no.
No, like just because it's just such a massive commercial like beer, or is it just a crappy product actually?
It's a insanely crappy product that's just pumped full of like corn syrups and stuff like that. Like if you take a Bud Light and then go get yourself a light lager from a local brewery, go camping, leave a can of each out overnight, and the next morning crack those cans and have a sip of each beer and tell me which one tastes good and which one tastes like crap. And that's because the Bud Light, they chill it to hide off flavors, to hide just the grossness of it, right? When it's cold, like that whole, when the mountain is snow or whatever, I don't even know how it goes. They want you to have it cold because it tastes good cold, but as soon as it gets warm, it is nasty. Whereas a craft beer, a true craft beer, warm, it still tastes the exact same as it did when it's cold, just the temperature's different, you know?
Yeah. No, I actually have noticed that a little bit actually. But
Drink a lot of warm beers.
when should you should never really be drinking a beer warm anyway, though.
Well, you should never really be drinking Bud Light.
Oh man, yeah, no, I don't know. I enjoy Bud Light, but then again, okay, I don't know, man. I just told you I like PBR too, and
Yeah.
I can feel the judgment
but that's all
that you were just explaining.
Hey, look, you're drinking beer. That's awesome. You're having fun. That's your thing.
Mhm.
The only thing I like to encourage people to do is try to find a light lager made locally.
Mhm.
You know, why not? Right? You might be impressed.
No, you're right. No, like the crap, the local crafts are, they obviously put more what's that word, tender loving care into their creations. You know, like it's and aren't mass producing something like
You
Bud
nailed
Light.
it. Yeah,
So,
it's craft. It's not like yeah.
do you think there's too much craft beers though these days?
You know, they always talk about that word oversaturation. You know, it's something that they saw in a few of the U.S. states. So I worked in the U.S. for like 5 years, and that's where I sort of fell in love with craft beer. You know, before that, I was a Pilsner. My buddy Vinny calls it Filet Mignon. I was a Saskatchewan Pilsner kind of guy, Labatt Blue. Then, you know, I go down, I'm working in North Carolina, and you know, you can't find a Pilsner or Labatt Blue down there. So drinking lots of craft beers. And that's where I was like, what is going on? This was well before craft beer was taken off in Calgary. I mean, this is like early 2000. So I was, you know, Carolinas, I was working in California, Oregon, all that kind of stuff. So I was exposed to the craft beer scene way in advance of, you know, when it got here kind of thing. Right.
Like the craft beer scene, like in North America, would you say there like a lot of beers are actually redundant? It's just they're in different parts of North America. Do you know what I mean? Like as in I don't know, like a nice light lager in Calgary, not naming which breweries, but like if we go down to, I don't know, like North Carolina, like you're not going to find the Calgary local craft over in like North Carolina, like that probably wouldn't make it out there. But over there, I guess what I'm trying to say is like how much ways can you make beer? Like, is there an endless?
Well, that's you know, you could find that out for yourself by spending an afternoon on a Calgary brewery tour. Just kidding, but you know, have a lager at 3 or if lager's your beer of choice, go to 4 or 5 or 6 or 30 different tap rooms in Calgary and try their lager, and you will get the answer to that question because it's going to be different at almost every brewery, right? It comes down to which base malts they're using, which yeast strain they use, the time, the temperature, their technique, their equipment. You know, all of it plays, the water, it all plays a part. So it's all going to taste different.
Like every nuance matters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like, so in a way it is almost unlimited the way you can make a beer. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm yeah. No. And hey, sorry. Apologies to all my friends that own the breweries. You know, like Yeah, I'm obviously like I sell the products. But I'm not a master at understanding the entire process there, you know. But like even with Kaks, we do have a lot of local craft and everything like that. But our venue is it's not just selling the beer. Like we're a restaurant as well. You know,
Sure.
we're a podcast studio. We do events and everything like that. So yeah, but we do want to support the craft beer scene. But I should know more. You know, I should know more than I do.
Well, we'll just get some of the breweries on here.
Yeah.
Brewery every week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I did I've had the brewery tours guys on. So yeah. So right now, by the way, turned on the AC. I don't know why it's.
Yeah, I'm gonna layer down. So keep the camera off me for a minute.
Yeah. Oh man. Right now, are you born and raised in Calgary, by the way, or?
I got here when I was a teenager, so.
Mm-hmm. But you're from Saskatchewan, or?
No, much further east.
Okay.
But yeah, so pretty much Calgary, right?
Okay. So right now you're you're an entrepreneur essentially then, because of YYC TOURS and then the
Beerquest.
The Beerquest, exactly. Yeah. But tell me a little bit about yourself then. Like what did you do before? Like what's your bio here, you know? Like how'd you arrive at this exact point in time in your life?
Well, I'll keep it beer related. Like I said, I kind of already mentioned I got into beer when I was in the early 2000s, down in the US. Got back here. Started brewing with a guy who was Matt Phillips. You've probably heard of Phillips Brewery.
Yeah.
He brewed with Matt really early on.
Yeah.
They had
Blue Buck is Phillips, right?
Yeah.
I love Blue Buck. Yeah.
They had
tell me that's a good beer.
Yeah, it's a good beer.
Okay, all right. Mm-hmm.
I'll drink it.
Okay.
He brewed with him, and they worked in a strip mall and put newspaper on the windows at night. Like this was right when he was getting his start. So they brewed together, and then my buddy got married, and the rest, is history. Matt went one way, my buddy went the other, and him and we brewed together for a couple years. I had 4 taps in my kitchen. I lived a block away from the Ship and Anchor, and my place was pretty popular late at night, and beer would disappear pretty quickly.
Okay.
And then that was a couple years right before the craft beer boom.
Why did craft beer pop off specifically in Calgary?
Well, I mean, it was the whole province, right? But what happened? So in 2013. AGLC had production limits, right? So you had to, and my numbers are probably wrong, but it was, 20,000 hectoliters. You had to have a brewery that could produce, hypothetically, let's say 1 million bottles in 1 year, but you had to pay the taxes on half of that right up front, right out of the gate before you even got started, every year. You know what I mean? So that's why at that time there was like Wild Rose. There was that place on, I can never come up with the name. It was down 4th Street. It's now like right by the Safeway there. It's a brewery there now. It was Worst for a while, but it was a brewery a long time ago. You got your Brewsters who've been around since the 80s, Big Rock, and that was really the craft beer scene in Calgary, right? And then Brew Brothers, they came along a little bit later. But yeah, you had to have a massive facility, and it wasn't really cool. And then all of a sudden, 2013, AGLC said, "Yeah, let's we'll drop the limits." No, you don't have to. If you make a keg of beer, you can be a brewery. Boom, there it went, right?
Okay, but again, why did the AGLC drop their all these?
Because I mean, it was the craft beer scene was happening all around us except Alberta.
Right?
Okay. You know what I mean? You look at the U.S. like in the '80s, because that's when it sort of took off down there. It was about the '80s, like Sierra Nevada, Anderson Valley, those kinds of things really set it off. California, and then it just boom grew, and then BC's cool. So they were into the game early, right? And so we're in Ontario. We're left. Oh, geez. Are we going to get to make beer?
Okay, never mind. So we were actually late to the party.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, what about all the other provinces in Canada? Do they have were they?
Yeah, they were all. So I don't know when they all did their rollouts. I couldn't speak to that. I just know about Alberta specifically.
Okay. So why do you stay in Alberta then? If there's just so much craft beer, like in the States especially, you know, like because you were like, yeah, what made you leave North Carolina then?
So I mean, I was
when you said
I worked.
was that when you said you took a break from beer? Sorry.
Yeah, so no, I worked down in the U.S. and so I was all over like 5 years. I'd go down for like 6 months, come back for 2 weeks, 6 months, whatever, right? Hopefully, no border patrol listens to this shit. No, I was legit every time. But yeah, luckily,
Allegedly,
my
this
job,
whole thing's alleged.
What's that?
I'm like, this whole thing's alleged, border patrol.
Fortunately, I got to travel around all over the place, and I had weekends off, so I was always sourcing out breweries, new beers. There's this chain of bars down in the U.S., southern U.S. Worst bar name ever, but the coolest place called the Flying Saucer. At one point, there was 17 of them in the U.S., and I had been to all 17 of them. Like I would go there, like source them out, right? Like Texas had 6 at one point, but they all had 200 beers on tap. So you just could sit there and really experiment. If you were into amber lagers, you could sit there and try, half a dozen different amber lagers only.
Well, wasn't it like 60 something breweries we have in Calgary alone, or?
The thing is with that is you're talking about a lot of consignment brewers, right? So they don't have physical breweries themselves. They just have a recipe. They'll take it to X brewery, and that brewery will make that beer for them and then put it in their cans for them, and they can say they're a brewery, right? That's contract brewing. Right. And there's a lot of that. So when you boil it down and go, what tap room can you actually walk into and have a beer? There's just under 40. Okay. We recently lost one, unfortunately, but we've got, 2 just opened. Good Mood and Boiling Ore. They just opened their tap rooms, and they're right up by Big Rock. So that almost now creates a whole new little brewing district where you could kind of hang out and try some different beers. And then we got Buffalo 9 coming in Killarney. I'm really excited about that. Great people. And I know that Brew Smith is opening down in Bowness. So there's 4 new tap rooms that you're going to be able to walk into, right?
I think it was maybe won't name names right now, but weren't tap rooms not part of breweries until like recently?
That I couldn't speak to. I don't know anything about that.
Or like tap rooms in the past had to be like sectioned off.
They still
from
do.
The
they
brewery.
still kind of do, really. I know that there's some breweries in town that AGLC has come around and said, no, you've got to have some form of a divider between here and the brewery. Like they had really crazy rules, like you had to have the mill room, so where you make your grist, where you grind your malt. That had to be contained. It had to be in like a room all by itself because the fumes could potentially be explosive. I don't think it's ever happened, but they made everybody build these rooms, and that's why when you go to a brewery, you look up in the ceiling and above the mash tun, you'll see a hopper and a long white pipe. That pipe leads to the mill room. And so these breweries and now they've dropped that, and these breweries we spent thousands of dollars on our design just to make this happen for you, right? Now it's like, oh, okay, we don't really need it. So it's things change as they go along, right? But they do have the dividers.
Yeah, well, it's funny how each country has such different whatever you want to call it, countries, like territories, provinces, like like you go to Asia, I'm sure they have a completely different set of rules for like the way they brew things or whatever.
Do they even have rules?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And like, I don't know, man. Sometimes I'm not quite sure which rules should be like coveted more and taken and looked at with like okay, yeah, we should do this. Like no questions asked.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, man. Like a random example, but like I was in Vietnam for vacation right before COVID hit. Over there, I mean, everyone drives around on those bikes with families. Like a guy has a baby in one arm, and he is probably like drinking a beer on the other. Yeah. No helmets. Like you do that in Canada, you'd be in jail, right?
Yeah.
Like negligence, your kids would be taken away. But over there, like that's normal. And then yet, like you deem, I don't know. Like, but obviously, I don't think you should be doing that. But right now with all the going back to the beer thing, like, okay, fine, you had all these rules forever and ever and ever, but now it's like now those rules are lifted now, so it's like, well, just shows like all along maybe those rules didn't need to be there.
Well, I mean, you learn things as you go, right? So you've got to have those safety measures, right? You can't just go free for all right out of the gate, right? You trial and error things and see how it works out. Speaking of Asia and beer, I'm not sure if you've heard of Meta Brewing. They're pretty heavily awarded. They've got some Canadian Brewing Awards, Alberta Awards. They don't have a tap room yet, but they're located just up sort of close to the airport. But their brewer, Andreas, I want to say Althoff. I can't remember his last name. His first name's Andreas. But he brewed at Singha for like 13 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and he went to like, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, Weinstefener. Weinsteffen is like the world's oldest operational brewery, right?
Okay.
And they started basically the first ever university program for brewing beer long time ago. This guy went to that university.
Okay.
Yeah, so and he's brewing at Meta. So if you ever get a chance to try their beers, their stout is like pretty deadly stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's the kind of stuff I like. There's lots of little stories about people, like, if you look over at like Bow River, there's a husband and wife duo, and she's a doctor of chemistry from Germany, right? So, and he's an engineer.
Yeah.
So they're a match made in heaven, perfect for brewing beer, right?
Okay.
There's lots of these little interesting stories about beer all over town too, right? That I think are pretty cool for people to see.
Yeah, the like the brewer, like when we were at Beerfest recently, we had a booth there. It was our first one, and we made a lot of friends and stuff like that in the community, and we're continuing to. I definitely noticed like there's a personality type that is in that world, like it's like that combination of like always like just like fun is very important, like it's like because like they realize at the end of the day like everything we're doing in some respects, yes, we're trying to make money, but at the same time it's like we're trying to have fun, like think about it. When you're a little kid and and you have a bunch of friends together, wasn't everyone saying like, hey, let's go start a bar one day, it'd be cool to have our own bar, and then it mutates to, hey, it'd be cool to have our own brewery, and then the people that end up doing it are just the people that didn't really want to fully grow up, if you will. Like, I don't know, like I mean, and this is taken as a compliment, but like I can tell like you're young at heart, what I mean, like just the way you,
despite being an old guy.
Well,
the thing is though is like there's also a group of people that like working with their hands, whether it's like woodworking and art and all that stuff. Make no mistake about it, beer is in that same group, right?
Yeah.
Making beer is hard work. Like, people don't understand. Like, I always tell people, they're like, well, I want to be a brewer. It's like, you probably don't. Like, you ever gone to a brewery and you see that guy with the rubber boots and the long hair, and he's leaning in the tank with a mop and he's cleaning things out, and you go back there 2 weeks later and he's not there? That's because he quit. Because there's so much work with making beer. 90% of it is cleaning, believe it or not. Like a brewery floor is like a hospital. All the equipment is sterilized before it's used, and then sterilized after it's used, right? It has to be, or you're going to end up with some pretty bad product.
I do know exactly what you're saying. Everywhere I've gone, and you're right. It is stupid clean. The more I think about it, I really don't know the answer to this, but like brewmasters, like they like when you hire a guy to become a brewer, like it pays well, right?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends, I guess. Probably like any job, it depends on their resume too, right? If a guy's worked overseas at Singha, for 13 years and brewed 1 million bottles of beer, and went to the oldest beer brewing college in the world, he's probably going to get paid a little bit more than the guy who's worked at Joe's Brewery down the street for 2 years as an assistant, right?
Right. I'm just always curious, especially especially when you were explaining to me like the constant quitting. I'm like, well, if it's that hard, but in my mind I always thought it must be pay a lot or something, right? Like you would just quit like that, but
it's passion, man. It's passion for the craft, right? This is an art, same as a chef, coming up with creations. They're the exact brewers and chefs are the exact same people, and that people don't realize that when they go to a brewery, you're like, oh, I love this brewery. But really what you're saying is you love this dude or female who's making your beer, right? They're really the people making the beer, right? It just happens to be called this, right?
Oh yeah, no, marketing's like marketing and emotions is huge. You know, I'm a huge Conor McGregor guy, since you saw the
I saw him standing over
there. Yeah, and I love Proper 12. You know, I drink that whiskey all the time. That's my go-to whiskey. Now, there's a lot of people who are like super into whiskey, and they're like, that thing's dog shit. Like, can't believe you even. But for me, I don't know. Every time I drink it, like my mindset goes to a different place. Like, you know, I mean, Conor McGregor's not a perfect human being by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, the guy.
Do you know him?
Not personally, but I mean, like, well, you know what he's all over the place, man. This guy's 1 minute he's like the most amazing philosopher, martial artist, world champion, first 2-weight simultaneous world champion, and then like just like that, he's punching out an old dude at a pub who didn't drink his whiskey, and then the old dude opts not to sue him because he's just old school Irish like that, I guess. And then McGregor ends up buying that bar and banning the old dude. You know?
You've never done that?
No. He's my buddy made a joke. He's like evil Batman, you know. You know, like remember in Batman Begins when he wait a minute, how did that sequence go? Well, he had the two whatever, they're probably escorts, but they were like swimming in the fountain, and then the one guy's like, it's like, Mr. Wayne, your guests cannot swim in that fountain. He's like, oh yes they can, you know, because I just bought this hotel. Like, slide some check. I just like, I remember seeing that scene being like, that's pretty boss, but at the same time I'm like, that's not how a transaction would work. You can't just like okay, here's a check, like, you know, like how much paperwork has to go through and this and that, you know. And so now in hindsight I'm like, that scene was completely bogus. You know,
what the scene of Batman wasn't real? Come on.
Yeah. Have you had the Forged Irish Stout? I mean, the Conor McGregor's Forged Irish Stout?
No, I have not. No.
Is it called the Forged Irish Stout? Yeah, it's the Forged Stout. It's his, like, well, it's his stout, but okay. Yeah. I tried that at the Beerquest. I liked it. Yeah.
I'll have to give it a shot.
Yeah, I don't know where you can find it though, and like, I mean, well, like Proximo is one of our one of our reps, so yeah, I think we must be able to get it from them. Yeah, I don't know. I liked it, but I don't know what for stouts. Like, what is Guinness the top one or?
Well, I mean, I guess it's sales because it's mass marketed, right? But, you know, when you're talking about stouts, there's so many different kinds, believe it or not, right? Like Guinness is an Irish stout. But then you've got another one, the oatmeal stout. One that I've never seen around Calgary, but it's pretty tasty, is the tropical stout, which is a little bit more sweeter. You know, you've got these milk nitros. You've got a whole bunch of different variations. The big one right now is the peanut butter milk stout because of Belching Beaver and the GAB, the Great American Beer Festival, a couple of years ago, winning that as best in show. So all of a sudden that became, everybody wanted to make a peanut butter milk stout, right? But as far as Irish stouts go, then yeah, it would be the leading Irish stout because it's really the only Irish stout, unless you go to a local brewery, right? Like, you know, not to name drop and not mention other breweries, but like Stony Slope, if you know them. No. If you don't, you should. They make a dry Irish, and it's freaking fantastic.
Man, I feel dumb as fuck right now. What's a dry Irish? Like
it's just it's a traditional stout, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So like a Guinness is not really a traditional.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's an Irish stout.
Okay. Sick. Well, right now, what's on the docket for you in the future? Just keep growing the YYC tours and.
Yeah, well, you know, Beerquest is it's only been going for a couple of weeks. I don't know that we talked much about Beerquest. Yeah, I guess we did. We talked about it being a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to.
Those beers are kicking in, eh?
What's that?
Those beers are kicking in.
Yeah, some of them snake legs sneaking in. Yeah, it's. I'm in talks right now to get this going up in Edmonton. I do have. I'm working on knocking on the door, in talks with a national organization about duplicating this in other cities all across the country, and then apparently there's some interest in working with a pretty large app and sort of translated that. You know, the thing I've got going with this game that nobody else is really doing is it's educational, right? It's not just like take a picture of this beer and tell us if it's good or bad, right? It teaches you about the beer. Like it says, this is what it's supposed to taste like. You know, so when you get people going, oh, this is bad, it was really grainy. Well, it was supposed to be grainy. That's the style. So you gave it a 2 stars when meanwhile you probably should have given it a 4 or 5. Like, you know what I mean? So you can never judge those. You can never trust what you see on those apps, right? So for this one, it gives you little style guidelines as you go along. And I mean, these style guidelines are basically through the BJCP program. And I don't know if you know what that is.
No.
Okay.
BJCP program.
So BJCP, real quick, stands for Beer Judging Certification Program. And it came about in the 80s when it was needed. Like it started with a bunch of homebrewers in Colorado. And as I mentioned earlier, craft beer boom really took off in California, right? And then, you know, came into Colorado. So these guys were making beers. They had no real Bible, right? What is an American pale ale supposed to taste like? What's supposed to be in it? So they started coming up with these guidelines for you know, hundreds of styles of beer. A Czech dark lager should taste like this. An Irish stout should contain this. Shouldn't contain that. You know, blah, blah. And they did that for every beer style there is. And that was for their own sort of use as a homebrew club. But then it grew and it grew and it grew. And that became almost the Bible, if you will, for beer judging competitions, like national competitions, even the world competitions. They use the BJC program. Now, I think it's a little outdated now because back then there wasn't brewing colleges and university programs. Now it is. Brewers know more about the judges in the BJC program. Really, technically they do, you know, because the BJCP, sure, it's great to know what's supposed to be in it. But then when you score, you're supposed to be able to tell a brewer, well, it's missing this, or it should have this, in a nice way, right? But I don't think you can do that anymore because the brewers already know. You know, they take that in school and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of outdated. And not only that, I mean, it's, okay, well, you can have...
when were these made? Like when
in the
did
80s.
Yeah, that sounds a bit outdated.
And
like,
this is a bunch of guys who got together, and good for them. I mean, it really... It built the foundation.
Yeah.
Right. But at this point now, it's kind of stupid because you got to pay hundreds of dollars for the first level, thousands of dollars for the next level, thousands of dollars for the next level. Like when you talk about a guy like Don, you know, he's thousands of dollars in, and that's a hobby and that's his passion. So he's okay. And I mean, he's an author. He's done all this other stuff too, right? You know, so he's right into it, right?
Yeah.
He's down the rabbit hole. I'm not down the rabbit hole. I'm into the beer and all that stuff, right? But yeah, so, and then the Cicerone is kind of the same thing, right? I mean, they do a really good thing that I think every bar should do, which is like their entry-level Cicerone program. Teaches you about how to properly clean glasses and blah, 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 service, how to clean draft lines, all that kind of stuff. Because there's so many pubs and places you go to, not breweries, but pubs you go and you're just like, ooh, this is filthy or it stinks.
Yeah.
You can notice it. Once you learn how to find it, you can find it, right?
Yeah. The what was the myth about the Saddle Dome? Like why the Saddle Dome beer is always like gets you extra fucked up is because like maybe the lines aren't clean or something.
You know,
like,
I wouldn't be surprised that it said it was 5%, but it probably was like 7%.
Yeah, is that what's happening there?
I would guess.
Like how many? Like do you go to Flames games a bunch? Sorry, when you
now,
rattle off your top 4 things.
I
again,
mean, this is old. You're talking like 2 decades ago. They used to call it heroin beer because it would screw you right up. Only 2 or 3 of them, and you were messed up.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore. So it had to be something like that. Well, I don't know.
Every Flames game I've gone to is majority
2
of
or
them.
3. I think now it's like 5 or 6.
Well, you're drinking.
Ago, it was 2 or 3, and you were pretty good.
Well, like with the Flames game, obviously you're drinking before you go, and it's like you're having a night out with the boys or whatever, and then, but when I'm there, like, good God, I'm like lit, and so is everyone else, and I don't know, but you suspect it's literally just there's probably more actual alcohol in it.
They probably send the special batches over to the Saddle Dome.
Yeah.
Right? Now that would have been also before. I mean, this is when Molson, right, was the supplier of the beer. It's totally different now, and it's super super regulated. So it's probably not like that anymore. Like, do you think?
Do you think it? Oh, sorry, to interrupt. Yeah.
No.
I was just gonna say, do you think that was intentionally done to get people going to like, hockey games get more rowdy and stuff, to create that buzz, that energy,
I mean, if you think about it, probably.
Right?
Right? Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, because man, I have been to some games where it was quiet as fuck, and then I was like, yeah, but I've noticed no one was drinking, I don't know, I think everyone was just maybe it was a January game or something. Everyone's doing their sober
winning
January.
helps too. Winning kind of gets people up.
Yeah,
pumped up.
yeah.
That usually didn't happen.
Oh man, I'm watching MMA fights hammered is so fun, so fun. You ever been to an MMA fight? UFC or
No, I did.
Are you in
boxing?
I did
Antonio Vera and Chavez Jr. in San Antonio.
Okay.
Dude, the ring girl was sitting beside me.
Oh, sick. That's how close you were. Okay.
Yeah, a buddy of mine was a boxing judge.
Yeah.
And I was working in Texas.
Yeah.
And him and I just happened to be in contact. He's like, I'm in San Diego. You want to come to this boxing fight? I go down there. He's like, wear a suit. So I had a suit, luckily. I was, so when they put that the metal gate around the ring?
Yeah.
I was inside that.
Nice.
George Foreman was 2 rows behind me. I kid you not. I turned around and he knew the judge. He introduced us. I shook hands, all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. But I am sitting right there. Sweat was landing on me. Yeah. But I'm not it was an experience, definitely. But I don't follow that kind of stuff. I like real combat sports like wrestling.
Yeah. Do you follow it right now?
Professional, of course I do, man.
Yeah. I'm no, I'd follow it if I had more time. I've kind of this last year is just taken away from me because of starting this business. But
do you see MJF come back?
MJF, man.
Do you follow the AEW?
No, not as much. Not as much.
You're missing out.
Yeah, no.
It is a far superior product.
You think so?
Oh,
but why did Cody Rhodes leave then?
I don't know. He wanted more money. Just the product. The product is better. It's more wrestling, man.
Yeah,
it's more wrestling. I guess I can't swear. The things
they
do, the shit they do on AEW is insane. And there's this, like anything, there's this real learning curve. I got this buddy I walk with. I go to the dog park every day at 6 a.m. There's this older guy that, despite losing his dog last year, still continues to come and join the pack and walk with us. But he's heavy wrestling. Yeah. He was working with Stampede Wrestling back in the day.
What's his name? Or do we?
No, I mean he wasn't he just worked at the building and stuff. He wasn't a wrestler.
Yeah.
But I was telling him about AEW. He's like, well, I never really watched it, and I was like, give it a shot. So he started watching. He's like, well, I don't like this guy. I'm like, oh, dude, you're missing the point. Another week, he's like, okay, this guy. 2 weeks later, he's like, oh my gosh, AEW is so much better than WWE. Right? Okay. And now he prefers to watch that over WWE. Me, I just fast forward it, right? It's always recorded. Yeah. Fast forward. I don't even usually watch the matches. I got to fast forward for the match, wait for a big move. But I like the promos. I love the entertainment aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hooked on. So I'll jump those. It takes me 25 minutes to watch a 3-hour program.
Yeah.
I just scan through.
Okay.
Whereas AEW, I don't do that, right? I watch most of the matches because they're doing stuff I have never seen before.
Like what?
And I've been watching just some of the moves. Some of these luchadors and stuff, the moves they are doing, I have never ever seen before.
Okay, hold on. Dude, it's not that I don't like AEW. It's just the way my timing worked or whatever.
Sure.
Or AJ Styles in the WWE are you saying there was loads of wrestlers more crazy different than that, you know what I mean? Because AJ Styles was when I first started seeing some of the stuff he was doing. I remember that Cicero guy.
Yeah
that was when I was like, holy fuck, this thing's evolving to some new
that's nothing. I mean,
and then you're saying AEW is packed with talent that maybe.
Dude, you got to see some of the moves these guys are doing. I think it's because WWE, and I know we're talking about beer, so but I think WWE has rules.
Hey, it's a podcast, man. You can talk about whatever.
Okay,
yeah.
First time. They have rules to protect their wrestlers, right? So there's moves they're not allowed to do. I think AEW is a little bit more okay. If you guys want to do it, you're good, right? So you get to see a little bit more crazy stuff.
Oh man, what was your favorite era of wrestling?
Well, I mean, it's usually those kinds of things when you even hockey and anything. Your favorite times seem to always go back to when you were younger. right?
That is true.
Yeah.
But you can also be objective too, right?
You can.
And know,
you
like,
can learn to be.
because I wasn't around when Ric Flair was like super in his prime, you know, but like, well, I'm 38, so 85. So but Ric Flair was actually it was the 70s and 80s that he was really like globally famous. But I found myself as I got older, like just diving into his classic stuff, you know, because like, oh man, like, because I could tell, like, when he was doing it, that was like a big deal, you know, like it was probably I don't know, man. Like what? Yeah, but like, what do you think? Like, what do you think about which era is the best? And actually, give me your opinion on someone like Ric Flair.
On Ric Flair?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's a legend, right? And yeah, I mean, there's all this shady stuff now, but I mean, come on, the guy's 80. Times were different back then. I'm not justifying what he did. You know, we all learn from our mistakes and all that stuff. But yeah, he was a crazy dude, and he set the bar, man. Like, he's a legend for a reason. I think he should give it up though now, because he's in AEW, right? And like, he's trying to go.
Flair's in AEW.
Yeah, he's trying to go in the ring and stuff, and it just like, it's like, oh, buddy, like
how recent?
Like,
because I saw his match
a couple months ago.
Like he was gonna have a match.
Oh, he gets in there like for Sting's retirement match and all that kind of stuff. He got in there and got physical, and somebody gave him a boot, but like, it took him 15 minutes to get his leg over the rope, and he was shaking. It was not enjoyable to watch. So time to hang it up, right?
Yeah, honestly, it was probably time to hang it up after his Shawn Michaels match in 2000 and like 8 or whatever that was, because that was such a perfect ending. But no, but he's Ric Flair, so he blew through all his cash, and he needed to get back into it. Shawn, I'm gonna wind this down right now here. Right now, thanks for coming on and explaining about tell me about yourself, about like the, you know, like basically show me your passion for beer. You know, I always love hearing, you know, seeing people's passions and things like that. You definitely made me feel like I need to up my knowledge on on this whole entire field. You know,
I'd be happy to talk to you about it anytime, man. That's what I love doing. I love sharing that with people on my tours. You know, that's what it's all about for me. Once you know that story and all that stuff, it kind of gets you excited about it, right? And then you'll get the craft beer bug, and that'll be it.
Okay, well, we'll end on this. Tell me a really good craft beer story, like something that will, I don't know, fascinate people. You know, like what's like, pick one of the beers and just let people know, like, you know, like, what is the cool story behind that? You know, like,
you know, I guess there's so many. One I really like is and it speaks to like our evolution and who we are as people. Like, you know, like, we try things, we're creative. Is that, like, when we talk about beer, and, you know, you hear these stories, oh, beer was used by the Egyptians to pay for the pyramids and all stuff. Really, that wasn't like beer by definition as we know it. Like, it would be more of what's called an ale, but that would be like a grain and gruit, like, so herbs and spices and all that stuff. Whereas beer is hops, right? And then before that was mead, right? And mead didn't need humans to make it. It could make itself because yeast is everywhere, right? And that's what we didn't know until the 1800s. We had no freaking idea. So these farms in the tail end of the medieval era, you know, the late 1400s, these people are making beer for the first time with hops, because like, it was like, I think it was 8th century when the first ever recorded mention of the word hops ever appeared. And it was like a Belgian monastery, because they were the only ones that could write, right? Like, nobody knew how to read, right? But monks could, right? So they had it. And then, but they only talked about how somebody was cultivating. And I think it was prisoners, like, it was like camp for, like, you know, prisoners. They had cultivated hops, but they used them for medicine. They used them for, and I bet you're sorry that you asked me about this. They used them for everything, but there was no record of like beer, right? And it wasn't until the 1400s that there started to become a record that hops now was being used in beer. So really, that's like where beer started, right? And it was in like Bohemia and Bavaria, so like Germany and the Czech Republic, right? Where they've got their native hops there, right? And then it sort of spread out from that, and then it hit to like the Dutch Trading Company, and they're the ones that brought hopped beer to Europe, to the UK, right? Because everybody else thinks the UK is like, oh, the big founders of beer and all that stuff. Not even close, right? And then during that time, I mentioned earlier, was they had no idea yeast is everywhere. So when people were making beer, they were making it in wooden barrels, and there's yeast in wood, right? And yeast in the air, yeast on your skin, yeast on insects. There's a brewery in Ontario a couple years ago that made a beer with yeast from a butterfly's wings, right? But anyway, and yeast eats sugar, and it pees and poops alcohol. That gives us beer when you put the hops and all that kind of stuff in there, right? So these guys, our ancestors on the farm, would be like, well, let's put some of this in here, let's put some of this in here. Either you'd get super sick, and maybe somebody would die, you'd be like, never doing that again, or you got a buzz, and you're like, if you happen to have 2 barrels, you're like, that one didn't get us drunk.
Yeah.
Don't use that one again. Let's use this one. It's the lucky magic barrel. They
just
had no idea what was going on.
Just happened to be the cleaner one, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Because once the other barrel goes bad with bacteria, you probably don't want to use it. And it was all trial and error. Like, these guys weren't like, hey, emailing somebody going, you should try out this new recipe. It was, this guy was on a farm hundreds of miles away from another guy who was also kind of doing the same thing. Nobody ever woke up one day and said, I'm going to take barley and water and hops and yeast and add them all together. They didn't even know what yeast was till Pasteur discovered it in the 1800s. They had no idea where alcohol came from, right? It was all just like experimenting. And I think that's super cool for me as far as beer goes. And then from there, you get into the Reinheitsgebot, the German purity law, all that different kind of stuff that says beer can only have these different ingredients, la-di-la-di-la-di, whereas other countries were doing it. And that's where sort of craft beer sort of took off. And it was all regional, once the word got around, and even I think it hit Finland, it hit like Northern Europe before it even got to UK. Like, there are beers like forgotten, like that brew I was talking about, Stony Slope. They make recipes from the 1500s. They're making these old style beers. They're using a bit of gruit, like with branches and herbs and stuff like that in the beers as well, right? Something you're not getting super sick when you drink them. And that's pretty close to like some pretty ancient beer, man. So
okay, well, I mean, I'm most fascinated with how like certain cultures, it was just part of their diet, it wasn't like like
pregnant women used to drink stout. That was the marketing campaign in the UK.
What was the thought process behind that? Iron?
Yeah, heavy in iron.
Okay, but what about the actual alcohol? That's probably not good.
They didn't care about that, man. They didn't care about that.
So lots of kids then probably have accidental fetal alcohol syndrome.
I don't know. I've never met a Brit that wasn't a little wacky, so you never know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I would love to have you on in the future again, so keep educating me on this. But thanks for coming on. Definitely. Hey, everyone, Shawn's information will be in the show notes for his socials. And again, if you want to join Beerquest, simplest way to get in, just go to the social, and then from there, there's a way to connect over.
And I'll just throw in real quick, if I could, Shawn, thanks, is that Beerquest is running till the end of December. But the first 46 beers, well, now 47 after today, are in the game. There's not going to be another one announced till July, then August and September. So you've got that time to get up to that 46 beer mark. And then, the last couple months, it'll just be a race to get those last couple beers. There's a few people playing right now that have they're pretty good. They've got quite a few beers, but like I said, they can only go so far. And that's going to give everybody a chance to catch up and try to get those. And right now it's at $1,800 and counting in prizes. That's gift certificates, swag, merchandise, sweaters, hoodies, growlers, all this stuff from 30 different Calgary breweries.
Sweet. Yeah, no, definitely definitely getting on that on this if you guys are interested in that. I mean, like $1,800 worth of beer related prizes, from swag to gift cards to this and that. I mean, fuck yeah. All right, Shawn. Okay, well, everyone, have a good one. Okay, bye.
Thanks.